In the name of Allah, the most merciful and the most beneficent. Dear students, welcome to Pakistan International School, Doha, Qatar, for e-learning program. Dear students, this is lecture number 2 of week number 5 for the subject of Social Studies for Class 5. Today we are going to start lesson number 2 of our syllabus. The title of this lesson is World Climate. Students, it is hoped that this chapter will be interesting and you will enjoy and learn some new concepts and terms related to climate. So, let's start. There. Learning objectives of today's lecture are: 1. Understand the meaning of weather and climate. 2. Explain the difference between weather and climate. 3. Demonstrate understanding of the element of weather and climate. What is weather? Just recall, what is weather? This topic is very important part of social studies. I guess you know the answer. Well, let's discuss it again. Dear students, there are two terms usually used. One is weather and the other is climate. Both are related to each other but are different from each other. Here, we are going to learn what is weather. Weather is the day-to-day conditions of a particular place at a particular time. So, the condition of any short time of any specific place and specific time is called weather. Students, here is another definition of weather. That weather is defined as the conditions of the atmosphere at a particular time and place. Again, you can observe in this definition that it's a condition of particular time and place. After understanding the meaning of weather, it's very important to understand that what are the elements of weather? What defines or changes the weather of a specific place? There are different elements which determine weather. These are heat, cold, humidity, cloudiness, dryness, rain. So, all these elements determine the temperature of a day at a specific place. Day-to-day weather conditions. Students, we listen in our social conversations and in news that today's weather was like this, or in the weather forecast about the future. There are different weather conditions. For example, 1. Sunny. 2. Cloudy. 3. Snowy. 4. Rainy. 5. Windy. 6. Icy. Students, can you tell, how is weather today in Qatar? We can say, last week the weather of Qatar was cloudy. Students, the next term we have to discuss is climate. Here the question is, what is climate? Just brainstorm and recall. Dear students, the climate is the common, average weather conditions at a particular place over a period of time. Here is another definition of climate. The climate of a given place is the average weather experienced in that place over a period of time. Here, it is important to note that climate is the average weather of a region or area over a period of time. That may be a decade or long. Students, there are various elements of climate such as 1. Rainfall. 2. Temperature. 3. Humidity. 4. Air pressure. 5. Winds. 6. Clouds, and lastly, sunshine. Students, we discussed about weather and climate, as both are very related to each other, but are different from each other. It is very important to understand the difference between the both. Let's watch a video to understand the difference. Be attentive throughout to be able to answer the question. What is the difference between weather and climate? Students, here you go.
What's the difference between weather and climate? Weather is the short-term condition of the atmosphere in a given location. The key here is that we're talking about the short term. Weather describes what's happening right here, right now. Here are some examples of statements that describe the weather. It's pouring outside. That's describing the weather because it's explaining what's happening right here, right now. It's freezing. That's the weather too. The wind is really blowing. That's the weather. Such a foggy night. That too is the weather. Finally, it's hot today. That also describes the weather. Keep in mind, the weather can be anything on any given day, and while we do see patterns, which we'll talk about shortly, weather can fluctuate greatly. For example, in January in New York City, it's generally cold. But on any given day in January, we could have 75 or 80 degree Fahrenheit weather in New York. It would be strange, but that's the weather. It's a snapshot of what's happening right here, right now. Climate, on the other hand, is the long-term average condition of the atmosphere for a location. The key here is that climate is long-term. It's a snapshot of what we expect to see in a location based on many years of data that has been accumulated and studied and averaged out. So it gives you a picture of what to expect for a particular location, though it's important to keep in mind that the day-to-day weather could be just about anything. Here's some examples of statements that describe the climate of a particular area. It's hot and humid in the Amazon. That's an example of climate. It's not always hot and humid in the Amazon, but on average, that's what we expect to see there. Or if we were to say the South Pole is extremely cold and dry. Generally that's true, but certainly there are days where it's not true. The Sahara is arid. Yeah, the Sahara Desert is generally very arid and dry, but it does rain there from time to time. New York City is cold in the winter. Again, that's true, but we could have a warm day in January in New York. Finally, India experiences monsoon season in July. What that means is it usually is very wet and rainy in July in India, but that doesn't mean every minute of every day in July will always be wet. So to sum up, weather is what's happening outside right here, right now, while climate is what usually happens here during this time of year. Now, weather is affected by a lot of different things. These are all different factors that give you a sense of what's happening in your location at this moment. These include things like the temperature, the wind, humidity, cloud cover, precipitation, and air pressure. And all of these factors are constantly changing up and down, and together they give you your local weather. Climate, on the other hand, is affected by different things. It's affected by your latitude, how close you are to water. Are you on one side or another of a mountain range? Are you at a high altitude or elevation? Are you near a particular ocean current? Or are you in a particular wind and pressure belt? So climate is affected by many different things, as is weather, and all of those get together to give you a snapshot of what's happening at a particular instant, being the weather, and over a long period of time, being the climate.
Dear students, if you have any question, ask from your subject teacher. Dear students. Message of the Day. By Mark Twain. It's the secret of getting ahead is getting started. Dear all, we all intend to improve and move forward in our lives. We plan for our lives and set goals. Being students, you may have goal to learn any new concepts of any subject. The achievement of your goal needs the first step, and that is to start. Once we start, then we may improve day by day, and one day we will be successful. With this message, I am leaving you all. Thank you for being attentive. Take care. See you all in our next session. Bye.